Welcome to the Directing Animation Livecast with Scott Weiser, who has gone from a studio of one to directing at Spacestation Animation to supervising at Steamroller Animation, continuously developing over 15 feature film pitches on a quest to master the art of making deeply meaningful animated films.
Today, our guest is someone you might recognize if you've seen episode 1 of the Directing Animation Livecast. His name is Tony Bancroft. He was my first guest on purpose because he wrote the book, Directing for Animation. And since you've been on the Livecast, you have been busy. It did. It was successful. Yeah, it was successful. And also, you have been a busy guy. You've worked on a WB project. You've worked at Disney. You've worked on the Salvation Poem project, which is fascinating. I saw the trailer for that. And it's a beautiful project. And are you part of Pencilish Animation Studios? You've been helping out with that a little bit? Or?
Them a little bit as the way of... Yeah. So I'm an official company advisor. And, of course, my twin brother is running it, so we talk about it a lot. But it really is his baby, and I want to give him all the credit. It's going well, too. He's really excited about where it's going.
And you also started at Lipscomb after that, right?
I did, yes. Do you want me to grab this? Or okay. Yeah, I basically took my brother's job. He was the program director over at Lipscomb Animation. He started the program 10 years ago and really brought it up to a great place. I was already a program director back in California at APU, Azusa Pacific University. They kept the program running there, which I was glad about. And I stepped right into Tom's shoes and kind of took over. He's still teaching there too, but I'm mostly there full time. And then also wrangling other jobs on the side. I've always got 3 or 4 things going on, it seems like. You know how it is.
I do know how it is. That's how you get as much done as you get and how you stay successful and are able to support your family, but also stay challenged, which is really great. Yeah. So, how has that stuff been? Like, how has it changed your perspective? I noticed that none of it is really directing per se, which has been your trajectory many times in your career, but I'm sure you found a way to make it fulfilling.
Oh, absolutely. On the film that I'm on right now, which Tom is directing for the Salvation Poem project, that is a 2D animated feature. I'm the animation director on it. Ever since I got into teaching and made a commitment to a university, I can't tell them I'm going to be there full time. I'm going to run the program and then step out all the time. So I've had to kind of really, with my career, downsize a little bit into just either supervising. It's just harder to do higher up creative management kind of stuff like directing or producing, and still run the program at Lipscomb. So I have to look for opportunities where it's either short term or it allows me the opportunity to have a couple days at school and then also a couple days at home. And so I have a very part-time life, I might say, where I'm going from teaching and different film projects and things like that. And that's what I'm doing now. But I love that. I mean, I love being kind of in the trenches anyway. And sometimes directing, you don't get to draw as much. And I'm really drawing a lot right now on this feature. It's called The Light of the World, and it's a Jesus feature about Jesus Christ's life and all through the eyes of John, his disciple, who was only 15, or at least that's how we're playing him, 13, 15, somewhere in there. And so it's kind of a fun kind of retelling of the story of Christ, and has a lot of the miracles and things like that to it. Has a great, faith message to it, but also it's entertaining. We kind of talk about it being like, as if Disney in the 90s made a Bible story kind of feel, which is hard to imagine, but that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. I don't think they would have done that. But now it seems like it's a really great time with everything Angel Studios has been doing with The Chosen and all of that stuff. Yeah. And what was your experience like on working on Once Upon a Studio? What was that like?
I mean, that was a dream come true. For those that don't know, Once Upon a Studio is Disney's kind of like homage to their own animation tradition that's been around for 100 years, and it came out for the 100th anniversary of Disney feature animation. So to be out of the Disney studios for so long, and it has been well over 23 years now, and for them to call me back and I only did a scene, one shot in the whole movie, but it was just an honor to be called back to animate 2 characters that I'm close to, Pumbaa and Timon. So if you've seen the short, there's a scene where Pumbaa and Timon go by an office, and in there is Olaf, and he's at an animation desk, and he's drawing a picture of the genie. And they're like, "Come on, it's time to go. We gotta go," or whatever they say, shake a leg or something like that. And then it goes on with Olaf, and the genie comes out of the board. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but that's what happens. And in that one shot, I got to do Pumbaa and Simone, and they were so cool working with the directors. They're young directors too. They wanted to bring back 2D animation. They wanted to do this homage, and then on top of it, bring back all the vocal talent that originally did almost 100% of them were either taken from earlier tracks that they had in their archives, and they just found new versions or something like that, or new lines that were cut from different films, or they hired the actors to come back and re-record new lines as their character. And then the supervising animators being able to come in and do a part was just really cool. A lot of trouble for a little short, but it's been pretty sweet to be a part of it.
Yeah. So I also, looking at your bio again, because it's been a while. I usually just see you at CT Next, and I'm just happy to see you, right? But it also talked about how you have some pitches that you're still working on, feature film pitches. How is that going? I'm particularly curious because it is a challenging thing, especially in our climate, in our industry. Yeah. It's very challenging to put your heart and soul into something that could never happen sometimes, or it might happen, or it's a vague thing. How's that going?
Well, the biggest transition in my life recently was that I took this job over at Lipscomb and moved 2 years ago to Tennessee. Yeah. So being in Nashville now, I guess I have a new kind of perspective. I don't know that I'm going to pursue trying to get funding for features. We'll see. I'll see what God has for me. I'm very flexible that way, and I feel like if an opportunity came up, then I would definitely have to think about it and pray about it. But usually, right now, I've been more content just being able to teach, run the program at Lipscomb, and then do kind of these jobs as they come up as kind of a gun for hire, if you will. And I've enjoyed that quite a bit. I'm leaving Tom to pursue Pencil-ish, and if he wants to go out and fundraise and do all the headaches, I mean, you know what that's like. And it's arduous. It's a lot of time and energy, and sometimes works out and sometimes doesn't. So for me, I'm kind of taking a step back from doing that. I've decided more recently.
Yeah. And I'm sure to some people that sounds like a very difficult, how could you ever be able to make that decision? But you seem very happy about it.
I'm very content, and I feel very at peace. Yeah. Like I said, I just feel like I'm not stepping out of the industry. I'm still very active, actually.
You're animation director.
I'm an animation director on a feature film right now. That's more than I even expected to do, and kind of stepping back a little bit. And yet, and I also don't know what the future holds. I just know for myself, just to put that much time and resources into trying to get a movie going. I was chasing my tail a lot doing that, I felt like, in the past. So I'm really content getting on projects that are moving, that are going somewhere to help out. I don't have to be the lead all the time. I just want to be able to, like this film, this Light of the World that I'm working on now, I really am able to speak into it and have a lot of creative control and say, but don't have the big responsibilities at the end of the day of producing and finding financing and all that kind of stuff. I'm happy.
I'm not going to ask you to speak for Tom precisely, but you all are an observer. You're there in the same locale, and you are part of what he's doing. I just spoke to somebody here at the Animation Expo. Oh, yeah. I forgot to say that this is not our usually live show. We're at the Salt Lake Animation Expo, which will soon be called the Sketch to Screen Summit.
Oh, is that right?
And it's going to be sketch to screen and everything in between. That's the catchphrase. They have to change it legally. They have to announce it here. So I'm also announcing it on the show just to make sure that people start to become familiar with that name. It's a great event. It's been fantastic. Yeah. And it's growing every year, which is great to see. So back on the Tom subject. So I spoke to a person here who knows the industry so well that it almost sounds like there's no hope. You know what I mean? Like, and I imagine Tom is going through these moments that, like, am I actually good enough to do this? Because it's pushing him past the art. It's pushing him past the directing thing. And so how does he stay motivated? Do you help him at all stay motivated in that process? And what does that kind of look like from your angle?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's directing a feature for the first time right now. He's also running his company on the side and keeping that going and trying to always do sales and business stuff for that. I guess for me, I just know my brother because I know myself, and we're twins. We're so much alike. I see him getting stressed out. I see him taking on the burdens of the world and trying to do it all. And I try and encourage him, you got to get sleep. You got to rest. You got to, just don't try and take everything on so massively where it overcomes you. And you're right. Scott, we live in a time right now where it's easy to get down on the industry. It's easy to get down on the opportunities that seemingly don't exist now. Seemingly is the key word, because I am an optimistic in that I believe that, and I've been 35 years in this animation industry, so I've seen a lot of ups and downs. To me, this is a down right now, and right around the corner is going to be an up. We work in an animation industry that's a roller coaster of ups and downs, and we're in a down right now. So, but the good thing is we have to expect that there's going to be an up again, and we should look towards that. We shouldn't live in a world of fear, of always wondering of what's next, and how am I going to get a job. That's important. It's always important. I tell my students this all the time: put away money when the times are good for when the times will be bad, because they will. But that's a life lesson in general. It's not just about our animation industry. You should always have that kind of feeling, because life has ups and downs. There's always trials and tribulations. It's what strengthens us. But if we can try and be a little bit more prepared financially, this is the stuff you don't learn in art school, right? If you could try and be a little bit more prepared by putting away money into a savings account, even if it's like $5 a week or something like that, you'd be amazed of how that'll save your bacon later on in life too, when times get tough. So try and be prepared, but also don't live in a world of fear. There's too many things in this world to be anxious about and upset about, and things are out of our control. So really try and live into a positive attitude. That's what I say, of knowing that it's going to get better, because it will.
That's great. Yeah. And I love, we actually had the last guest that we had on, Mike Matezi. Yeah. He was talking about this idea of motivation, and sometimes he's let stress and the negative things motivate him, and they can be motivational, but it's all about finding that new motivation. The crazy thing is we're talking about this idea of like carrying the world on your shoulders, and you better get some sleep and stuff, and so you will be able to do that, right, a little bit better. But what you did is you kind of surrendered your directing journey. Mm-hmm. Went to be a teacher, and all of a sudden you're animation directing again.
I mean, it is funny how that works, isn't it? I mean, I'm a Christian, I'm a believer myself, and I really feel like God is behind all of this, and that there's a bigger life story for me, a path that he has me on. And so that gives me a certain amount of confidence. It gives me a certain amount of peace at night to be able to go to sleep at night and not have to worry about things. And when I do let go in my life, this is for me personally, when I do let go of things in my life, I do feel like they turn out better. I feel like it's better than what I had originally planned or thought was going to happen. It usually goes better. I do genuinely think that is a thing that can occur in your life if you let go, if you seek light and not darkness. I think that's where it's going to go. I really do. And so I just want to encourage people out there right now, because I have a lot of students that are graduating, like literally in a month from now. And you can imagine going out into the industry and feeling that. And some of you at home might be feeling that too, of like, oh, what's next? I gotta find a job, and try not to do that to yourself. Everybody has their own path too. It's one of the things I love about, you do this now. You interview people. We do that, Tom and I, through our podcast for years. And you hear everybody's story, and no two stories are exactly alike. A lot of commonality. We're creatives. We're passionate. We're driven by the art, not by the money. We wish we were better with the money. We're not. All that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, we all have our own path to where we find and what we think is success in our lives. And for me, my idea of success has tremendously changed over the years as I've matured, and I'm happy about that. I think I have a better, healthier understanding of what success is in a career. And yet, I also see that the things work out. They tend to work out in the long run with time. We just have to be patient, and we have to be positive.
Yeah, I love that. And you're getting me thinking about how in my past CTNX experiences, when I first went as a student, I was so stressed about the whole thing. And I was like, I've got to, and I was sure I had to connect. I had to connect with Tony Bancroft, and I had to connect to, this big animator and this other person and this studio and this recruiter and like I had all this in my mind, the things I needed to do. The crazy thing is my first CTNX, I saw this guy sitting on a bench. And he was the first person I met there at CTNX. I went and sat by him and I was like, hey, what's your name? My name is Pablo Smith. He ends up being a Nickelodeon SpongeBob director and got me an interview to be a director with him. It didn't pan out, but I was just like, that's not something I saw coming.
Right.
You don't know that person that you just saw on the bench is going to be, a potential co-director in the future.
Yeah.
And so this weekend, because of so many things going on in my life, I was just like, I'm just going, and I know I'm interviewing some people. That was my only objective. Yesterday turned out to be as great as one of the most inspiring days at CTX ever was, and I had no objective,
Yeah.
And and it is God that did that. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, so cool. That really resonates. Absolutely. Yeah. So I can't ask what's for next for you, because I know you're going to be on this film for a while, and you're going to be teaching at Lipscomb. You don't know; you're just being flexible.
I don't know. It's true.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just at a point where I kind of want to see how things pan out instead of trying to. I am looking ahead. I've had some conversations and things about possible things, and I think this film coming out, once it does, summer of 2025. I think that's going to open up some opportunities. In the past, I would have told somebody, always have a new idea in the back pocket, or always have, and I think for the younger me, that's true. I would have been like actively seeking, or I would have been, connecting with agents or something in Hollywood and trying to propel an idea that I have out there. But yeah, at this stage in my life, I guess I'm more interested to see what comes next, fluidly and naturally, than I am about pushing my own agenda. And I'm at a point in my career where I feel like I can do that. And that gives me peace. Yeah,
that's great. So on the first animation podcast that I did with you, the Livecast, I had a moment that I called the Get Wiser moment, and I had this question that I asked you. And because of your answer and the answer of the first several people I interviewed, the question has changed. So originally the question was, what responsibility does a filmmaker have to the world culture? And you answered something to do with meaning, right? And so did the next person. It has to have meaning. And the next person, meaning, somebody said diversity is important. And then somebody else said meaning, right? So, which even the diversity subject has meaning to people, right? So, so now the question is, if my goal is to get the highest clarity of meaning into a project, into a film, what approach would you recommend?
Boy, that's a very specific idea. I think for anything where you want to, as a director, any project that you go into, any story that you're telling, it is important to have a vision. But kind of like the theme of my interview with you, I think flexibility is important too. And so I think it's good to go into giving a story a certain meaning, having a project that you're trying to develop and giving it a certain meaning. But as for the clarity thing, I think it's really just about pushing away anything within the story or content. Say you're making a movie, I guess I'm thinking of that. This in the story, pushing away anything content-wise or any kind of characters that would get away from or confuse and take away from the clarity of the meaning or message of the story. So that's always been important to me too. And I guess the flexibility part for me that I've learned more through my journey and even since our last podcast together is being open to the story changing and going in different directions. And not that you'll lose that core thing that you're trying to say with the project, but at least being open to the fact that you might end up telling it or saying it in a different way, and therefore might find better clarity in telling it than you had imagined before.
Thank you for watching the Directing Animation Livecast, hosted by Scott Weiser, audio version edited by Kira Horowitz, copyright Scott Weiser LLC 2024. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell.